start by opening about brain health today. I mean, and obviously in working with over 50,000 clients, right, helping them heal from brain-related challenges, you've seen a lot of the same underlying causes and conditions of these challenges, right? So maybe start with that. What are some of the most common causes of many of the brain-related issues that we see today?
Yeah, so brain inflammation lies at the root of the problem, right? What causes brain inflammation? It can be chronic stress and the chemicals that your body releases when under chronic stress. It can be the lack of sleep, which is when, the brain basically cleans house and repairs. So while you're sleeping, your brain shrinks and it's almost like a car wash that kind of funnels through and cleans out the brain. And then how do things exit the brain and exit the body? They go down the neck and they go through the body. And if that pathway, the drainage pathway, is congested or stagnant, those toxins don't leave the brain and they stay there, and then they trigger the immune system and they cause more inflammation. So people can be eating the perfect diet, doing the right amount of exercise, meditating. But if these three things are out of balance, it's almost like trying to bike uphill in the highest gear. It's just the body isn't working with you. And so it's harder to see the results you're looking for.
So those three again is chronic inflammation.
Well, chronic inflammation is caused by chronic stress,
Yep.
poor sleep, and poor drainage.
Chronic stress, poor sleep, poor drainage. What about toxic burden as well?
Yeah, toxic burden. I mean, when you think of toxic burden, it's like the bad things that you're exposed to in your environment, including the foods that you ingest. And ideally, your body's able to keep up with, garbage in, garbage out, right? But you're staying in chronic stress. I can actually dive into those three things. Basically, what happens is when you're in chronic stress, your body prioritizes survival versus housekeeping and upkeep. So things like detoxification are kind of downregulated. Your body, if you think you're in danger, your operating system for your body is called your autonomic nervous system. It controls your automatic functions, your heart rate, your breathing, blood flow, which when blood is flowing towards digestion, that helps with digestion. It optimizes it. When blood is flowing away from digestion, like if you think you're going to die, resources are allocated to survival. So blood is routed away from digestion and detoxification to your arms, your legs, your respiration increases, your eyesight actually changes. Your pupils, the black part of your eyes, get really big, like saucers, to allow more light in and do what's called selective attention. Because if you're going to die, if you're contemplating every solution under the universe, you're going to be paralyzed, you're going to die. Whereas if you just say like, oh, I can run there and climb that tree, and that'll keep me safe. That's what you're trying to do. But what's interesting is in situations like what we've been going through in the last year, it's not just physical stressors that shift you into this fight or flight state. It's anticipatory stress, fear of job loss, of financial ruin, of relationships being challenged, of health challenges, of even watching the news. People watch the news, and if they're kind of tracking their heart rate, it goes up. It's stressful for them. And so we're stuck in this state of chronic stress called the or the sympathetic branch of the nervous system. And what we don't realize is that all healing occurs in the rest and digest state. So it's kind of like if you're having a big party at your house, you're focused on the guest, on making sure that there's food and beverage and everything. Cleaning up the house is not your priority at the moment because you have to prioritize on being the hostess. When everyone goes home, you can kind of shift gears and start to clean up and calm down and relax. You don't need to be as social. When there's any kind of anticipatory or physical danger, your whole operating system is shifted into this sympathetic fight or flight state. And so if you're trying to detoxify, say you're eating like all greens and fasting, but you're in sympathetic, it's really like your body's not working with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I've been really focused on helping people with cancer for almost a decade now. And, I have a masterclass called Becoming Cancer Free. And in there, I have an entire module on this exact subject because it's so important. Not only for cancer, but just about every disease on the planet, right? What you're talking about is critical. And I'm glad you're, teaching this for brain health and brain function because, it also relates to just about every other function and healthful quality in the body.
Yeah, and that's what most people don't realize. They're doing everything right, but they're stuck in the wrong gear. And they're told, I mean, this was me 10 years ago, like, oh, you just need to relax, which was a really hard pill to swallow because I had a busy life. I had children, I had a marriage, I had a job, I had friends and family that depended on me. And it wasn't like I could just go to a yoga class all day because the laundry still needed to get done and food still needed to be made. And so I was very focused on the idea that I needed to change my external circumstances to change my stress load. And the big aha moment hit when I realized you can literally shift your own gear. You can shift out of this fight or flight parasympathetic state into this or sympathetic state, into the rest and digest parasympathetic state. And the on off switch is your vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body that most people have never heard of. Quick anatomy lesson because it will help you understand what it does and how to activate it. It connects the brain to the body, body to the brain, information highway between the two. Starts at the back of the head, connecting to the brain, splits, and is most accessible, kind of winds around both sides behind the earlobe. That bone that you feel is your mastoid bone. It then winds through your jaw, your throat, your larynx, your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your gallbladder, your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, every organ of digestion and detoxification. And at any point that it touches, you can activate it. Like there's a practitioner, Datis Karazian, who talks about doing coffee enemas, which activates the gallbladder. That stimulates the vagus nerve. Deep breathing stimulates the vagus nerve. Gargling, gagging yourself, all these things stimulate the vagus nerve, but they're hard to do and people don't comply. So one of the reasons that I talk about oils, that there are many reasons they work for the brain, but I find this is actually the easiest way to stimulate the vagus nerve. There was some research in 2012, a researcher named Kevin Tracy was playing with pacemaker-like devices that he was surgically implanting behind the earlobe on the mastoid bone. And he was using that to stimulate the vagus nerve, which then turns on the parasympathetic response. And the results were so powerful that the FDA approved it for epilepsy, migraines, and depression. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, that's really interesting. One of the valuable pieces of oils are really plants that are concentrated. So just like, food plants, they're beneficial for you, but they also are able to access your brain more directly than ingesting food. You ingest food, it goes through the digestive cascade, it's processed through the liver, it gets into the bloodstream, and then it circulates through the body, right? When you smell something, it goes directly to the brain. Nose cells are brain cells. The blood-brain barrier, which is kind of the security system protecting the brain, is thinnest through the nasal passageways. So it gets right in, or you can use it in a stimulatory capacity, like flipping a bottle, putting it behind your ear, and it stimulates the vagus nerve that way. No invasive surgery required, kind of doing at will. And literally by, activating your vagus nerve, you are now shifting gears in your body, shifting into that calming space where it doesn't, the world can be crazy around you and you are able to maintain your inner calm.